Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and this podcast is all set up to teach you how to change your mindset, change your habits, and actually make sustainable changes to your life. I know that seeking fulfillment and having a life that you enjoy is extremely important to everybody out there. No matter where you are, the position you're in, the problems that you're having, you actually have the ability to completely change your life, to increase the type of joy that you have, to increase the happiness and the fulfillment that you have in life, to live a life that you actually enjoy. And I know that sometimes the problems can feel extremely overwhelming. They can feel like they're just way too much and you can't see a way out of it. It's easy to be like, oh, Cecilia, that's fine for you to say because you don't understand the type of issues that I'm having. And I know that sometimes that can feel so very, very overwhelming. But I'm here to tell you that if you work on your perception, you work on your feelings and the consciousness that you have about yourself, the beliefs that you carry about yourself and the world that you live in, you can actually start to change your life. You can start to live a life that is more aligned to the type of life that you want to lead, no matter where you are currently. I'm reading again today from Neville Goddard's Your Faith is Your Fortune. It is a phenomenal book. If you have not read it, I will leave a link down below that you can actually read the book and listen to the audio version for free online. It's a wonderful website. They do accept donations if you are so inclined to give, but it's a fantastic website that provides the information. And he's got a beautiful quote in chapter 9, which is called the Foundation Stone, that says, regardless of your problem, its duration or its magnitude, careful attention to these instructions will, in an amazingly short time, eliminate even the memory of the problem. And I know that that seems like, whoa, that's a lot to really eliminate even the memory of the problem. But when you consider the fact that when you're paying attention this way, you're learning how to pray in a way that tells God, the universe, source, whichever word you like to use, exactly what it is you want, because it's through feeling. Whether that's feeling happy or sad, whether that's feeling fulfilled or unfulfilled, worthy or unworthy, successful, unsuccessful, loved, unloved, the entire list is coming from your consciousness of being. That is what is being reflected back to you. And I want to try to explain this in a way that is clear. So if it's not clear, please let me know. I am definitely willing to go back over it and try to find some different words to make it more clear. But everything is actually coming from your mind. There is nothing that you experience that your mind has not chosen that that's what you're experiencing. And when I say chosen, I don't mean chosen as in like consciously picked or consciously wanting that and choosing that. But what I do mean is that your mind is always getting messages, right? Like your mind does not actually have any way of touching the external world. It's taking things in from the messages it's getting from the body, which is either stemming from a physical sensation or a psychological sensation. So like a trauma type response of like a triggered memory. And then that is processed. And then you have a reaction based in the mind on the message that is received, the type of perceptions that you have, the life filter that you're sending it through. So if you have a traumatic event, there might be something that happens to you that based off of your past traumatic events or your past life experiences, that your perception of that event is going to be a more heightened emotional response than maybe mine would be. And vice versa. I have things that may trigger a response within my body and my mind that would not do it for someone else. And there is actually people who experience pain without a quote unquote physical source of pain, right? Like you can actually convince yourself, your brain can trick you into feeling pain. And those are through your perceptions. It's through your own life filter. So there's nothing that you are experiencing that your mind is not saying that you're experiencing. You and I could go to the same speech, listen to the same speaker at the same time, sitting right next to each other, and walk away with different experiences. There could be something that they said that really stuck with me that completely just went over you. You didn't even pay attention to it. And again, vice versa. There could be something that spoke so deeply to you and to your soul that you're like, I have to take that piece of information and go apply it into my own life. And for me, it was like I didn't even remember that they said it because it just wasn't that triggering for me. It didn't spark something in me. And it's all because of perception. Everything that we experience is based off of our own perceptions. And that is why you need to focus on yourself versus trying to change the world. And this does not mean that the pain you're experiencing, whether that is physical pain or psychological pain, is any less real, right? It's very real. You are experiencing it. And I think in the law of assumption and law of attraction communities, a lot of people get a little caught up on this, where they're like, well, it's not real. Now, it can be constructed within your mind, which means that you do have ways of using your own brain power and the way that you're taking in the kind of notifications that you're getting from your body, those triggers that you're getting from your physical experiences. You can actually change the way that you view those, especially on an emotional level. It's not to say you can't do it on a physical level as well, but definitely on an emotional level, you can start to shift the responses that you have to external stimuli. So you can start to shift the way that you view the way other people treat you based on your own perceptions and the way that you're taking that stuff in. How are you viewing it? If you see yourself constantly as a victim, how can you shift that so that you're not a victim, so that you're more of a survivor, or that you are thriving in the life that you have and that you have overcome and you are very powerful and very empowered, because that is the actual truth. You are empowered and able to make the changes in your life that you want to make. You can actually start to shift the way that you view things. You can start to work on your inner self to have a better experience in life. So when I say that consciousness is reality, this is exactly what I mean. Your mind is actually taking the messages that you get from this external life that you're living, from your body, your experiences, even your feelings, right? Of the psychological and emotional feelings that you have. Your mind is then deciding what to do with it. Is this a threat or is it not? Should I be offended or should I be happy? Do I feel good or do I feel sad? So you continue these same paths the more that you go down them, right? So when we have a rewiring of our brain, or the way that our brain is currently wired, it's because as you continue to go through the same habits and routines, you're telling yourself over and over, this is the life that I have. This is the way that I feel about this life. This is the way that I'm treated. This is the way that I accept it. And that's what kind of continues and perpetuates in your own life. As I was doing some research for this episode, I came across a great article that I'll link down below. It's from arthritis.org, and it talks actually about a doctor who is a pain researcher and professor at Wayne State University in Detroit here in the US. Her name is April Vallerand, is how I think you pronounce it. Hopefully I'm not messing that up. But I love the quote that she had in here that says, if you perceive yourself to be disabled, you're going to act like it. And so we definitely go back in many different ways to the way that we're perceiving ourselves, right? So if you have decided that you have pain and someone confirms this to you, you're more likely to act like it. I recently had someone in my life that we went into the doctor. They were definitely having pain within their knees, and it was a bit of a struggle to get around, but they were getting around. So we go into the doctor and we have this appointment, and the doctor says, yes, your knees are in pretty bad shape. Like they're just not doing really well. From that point on, this person's pain, they talked about it 5 times more. They continued to say, I am in so much pain. I can barely move around because of my knees. I can't get up and do anything because of my knees. So then we went and saw another doctor and a physical therapist. And in this appointment, they said, oh no, it's really good for you to get up and move. As you strengthen those muscles, you'll be good. You don't need surgery. We're just going to do some shots here in the knee. Their whole perception changed based off of this second appointment. Then it was like, oh, now I've got 2 doctors telling me that I'm fine and I can get up and move. Now, while they're still struggling with pain and they're still struggling with their own perception and my perception of them in pain, because they are very close to me and I don't want to see them that way, they have changed their way of reacting with the world because now they believe that their knees are actually getting better by movement, whereas before they believed that their knees were getting worse by movement. I remember years ago hearing somebody say that you are responsible for your own triggers, that those that are around you are not actually responsible for your triggers, that you have to get to the point that you work on your own triggers so that you can experience the world without getting upset with people. And I remember at the time being like, well, wait a minute, the people who love me should be aware of my triggers and they should help me through those. And there's a difference with that. Well, yes, I think people can be respectful to the fact that you're working through triggers. You're the only person who can work through your own psychological responses, your own emotional and physical responses to any kind of event that you've had in life so that you can experience life in a way that is fulfilling and brings you joy. You have to be the one to do that, which makes you responsible for your triggers, whether those are to physical pain or emotional pain. Now, this absolutely does not mean that nobody else is responsible for the way that they behave. Others are responsible for their own actions. So if you're in a relationship that someone keeps doing something that you have told them, this is hurting my trust, I don't have safety within the relationship because this continues to happen, and they continue to do that, that is on them. It's not your responsibility to just accept their actions, not by any means, but it is your responsibility. Let's say that relationship ends and you go into a new relationship, you can tell your current partner, I really struggle with this. This created mistrust and safety issues in my last relationship, and I'm trying to work through that. So I need your actions to be much more open and communicative while I'm working on my own triggers. That does not mean that they are responsible for tiptoeing around you and never doing anything that you may possibly perceive as mistrust when it's not intentional, right? So they're responsible for their actions. You're responsible for your response. You have to work on your own response to life stimuli. And I'm going to go back to Neville Godard, Your Faith is Your Fortune, chapter 9. And he says, stop trying to change the world since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. The reflection then will be satisfactory. Freedom or imprisonment, satisfaction or frustration can only be differentiated by the conscious of being. So when I'm talking about our mind and our perceptions, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your consciousness, your perceptions, your life filter is allowing you to see and experience the world in the way that you've told the brain you want to see and experience it. And you're telling it you want to see it, right? I'm doing kind of air quotes about that with your feelings and your reactions. So the more that you can learn about your own emotional intelligence and the way that it would feel if you were free from all of this that is holding you down, all of this that is making you feel unfulfilled and feel the emotional, psychological, and physical pain that you're currently experiencing. And this is why so many different people have different experiences and reactions to the same life events. Whether that be a lover cheating on you, finding yourself within poverty, being embarrassed, struggling in school, whatever the answer is, everybody ends up having a different experience from it. There are people within my life that I have witnessed that always view themselves as a victim. It doesn't matter what somebody else does for them, they are constantly seeing themselves as being treated wrong. It doesn't seem to matter what you do for them or how much you try to reach out to them or try to be there for them. They constantly see themselves as a victim and that everyone is attacking them no matter what you say. You can hardly send them a message without it coming across in a quote unquote wrong way. And it's because of their perceptions. It's like text tone. People say, oh, I don't like to talk through text because the tone is always misread. Well, the tone is misread based on that person's perception. If I send you a message that says, okay, and I'm just saying okay, yeah, all is great. See you later. That's kind of what my message is supposed to mean. It comes through as okay. And you read as okay. There's a big difference here, and it's your perception of the way that you took that message. It's your life experiences, your emotional reaction, and your view of yourself and the way that people would talk to you and treat you that is determining the way that you're reading this message. It's determining the way that you're perceiving the message that was sent to you. And that does not mean that you have to like snap your fingers and be quote unquote cured of all your emotional triggers, right? Like emotional triggers are a usually unconscious response to external stimuli, that the reason that you have them is because your brain has decided to keep information of this was bad for us, right? Like I have to protect myself in this situation. So then when something similar comes up, which you may not know what that trigger is going to be right now, that something comes up and you're like, oh, now I'm really back in that moment, or I'm upset, or I want to lash out in anger, or I want to cry. And sometimes it's very difficult to know what that emotional trigger was caused from. And so I'm not here to say like, oh, you're responsible for it, you just have to change it. That's not it at all. Your emotional reactions are there to teach you something. Whenever you have this type of reaction, it is because there is a part of you that is saying, I need to keep myself safe right now. I need to have a reaction that's either a fight or flight type of reaction to keep myself safe in this situation. I have an experience that now within my perception and my life filter is triggering something that is a heightened emotional response for me. And that is okay, right? Like this is going to happen. Our bodies are designed to work like this. This is survival. If there was something that was completely devastating to you, it makes absolute sense that something that triggers that, whether it is like very, very similar to the same action or something quite different, but just triggers that emotional response in you, you are going to react in the way that you do because that's your body's survival. There's a part of you saying, I want to take care of us. Every reaction we have teaches us something. So when you get curious about it, what do I feel? Why do I feel that way? Am I safe right now? That's a good question to ask yourself. Am I safe right now? And there's a few ways that you can kind of deal with these heightened emotional responses. And one is to definitely learn how to do the psychological breath. That is a very deep breath in. So through the nose, kind of as much as you can, pull it up into your head, deep breath in. At the top, take another quick breath in so it feels like you can't have any more space for air in your lungs. Hold it for a second and release it with a sigh through your mouth. That should calm you. You can do this a couple times, but when you've got that kind of reaction, start to teach yourself to do this breath. It tells your nervous system, I'm safe right now. And there's actually been studies that have shown that this type of breath is the best way for you to calm yourself. So take a moment, take the big deep breath in, pay attention to how you're feeling, allow yourself to feel. Don't try to deny it and say, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling that? Am I safe in this current situation? And then you can take a look at your reaction in the way that you want to react. Do you need to protect yourself right now? Whether that is physically protect yourself or psychologically and emotionally protect yourself. Or am I in a situation that is triggering me that is not maybe needed to protect myself right now? I just need to pay attention and get curious about the feelings that I have. I need to change myself instead of trying to change the mirror. And I even start asking myself, what story am I telling myself? So we all tell ourselves stories. That's a lot of kind of what our consciousness is a story that we have continued to tell ourselves. It's the same way that I was talking about the person with the knee pain earlier, or the person who takes everything as a personal attack. What story are you continuing to tell yourself in that moment? And then focus on that story, and which one would you prefer to tell? How would you rather feel? In the chapter 9 of Your Faith is Your Fortune, Neville recommends that you ask yourself this question: how would I feel if I were free? The very moment you sincerely ask this question, the answer comes. No man can tell another the satisfaction of his desire fulfilled. So I have a lot of clients who ask me quite often, like, I want you to tell me exactly what to do. I want you to give me a list of what I need to do and the way that I need to feel. And that doesn't work that way. So that's why you see a lot of coaches out here who people are like, well, this did not help me at all. But then some who are like, this was phenomenal and it helped me immensely. And it's because each person has their own level of satisfaction. What may feel like freedom to me may not feel like freedom to you. So spend time in meditation quietly throughout the day asking, how would I feel if I were free? And also ask yourself, how do I want to feel when I go to bed tonight? Is my current actions, the current things that I'm doing, my behaviors and my habits right now at this moment, aligned with how it would feel if I were free and how I want to feel when I go to bed tonight? The more that you can ask yourself questions, the more that you come right back into your present moment, how you're feeling, and you get really, really curious and learn a lot about yourself. Neville also continues later in the chapter by saying your problem might have you so hypnotized by its seeming reality and naturalness that you find it difficult to wear the new feeling or consciousness of your Savior. You must assume this garment if you would have results. So remember, if we're looking at our perceptions and things are coming from our mind, whether that is physical or an emotional experience, it's coming in our mind. Our mind is taking the notifications, the triggers that it gets from the body, from like our eyes, from what we see, from our hands, from what we feel, anything like that. And it's saying, this is the reaction. This is the proper reaction. So the more that you can go into the feeling of what you would actually like to experience, how it would feel if you were living your ideal life, the more that you're training your nervous system and your brain to feel that way instead. There's other things that we can work on, and I will definitely get into those in the upcoming episodes. I hope that you found this beneficial and helpful. If you have any questions and you're listening on YouTube, you can definitely leave them down in the comments below. You can also shoot me an email. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. I would love to speak to you if you have any further questions or comments. And again, I do want to share with everyone that I have started a personal development coaching program. I've been asked quite a few times for coaching, and I wanted to make sure that my coaching was based on you learning how to work towards your own personal goals. How can you figure out what it is that you actually want in life and start working to become that person? Start to overcome the things that are keeping you currently stuck. And so that's what the program is set up around. I also am launching a membership program. I'll have more information coming up about that in the coming weeks, but it will have courses that are involved, weekly check-in group coaching sessions, and then also some additional information that people would not get unless they were within the program. So if you have any questions on that, definitely shoot me an email. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. And I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week.